On August 19th, the CDC issued guidance on how to prevent violence in the workplace related to COVID-19. This guidance specifically targeted retail industries and service companies that routinely interact with the public. For those of you wondering how big of an issue workplace violence is, in 2018, there were 20,790 injuries and 453 fatalities in the United States due to workplace violence. Although we don't have updated statistics to know how those numbers are being impacted during the 2020 pandemic, we do know that issues of threats and assaults to employees who are trying to enforce their company's COVID-19 precautions have been significant enough that the CDC felt it was time to issue guidelines to help employers fight workplace violence. I'm Rachel Walla with Ally Safety, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about strategies to keep your employees safe when interacting with members of the public during the pandemic. According to the CDC's guidance, it's possible that employees may be subject to threats or assaults as businesses try to implement COVID-19 safety policies, like the use of masks, social distancing, and limits on the amount of customers who are allowed in a store at a given time. Now, just so we're all on the same page here, workplace violence includes acts of violence, assaults, threats of assault, and then also verbal abuse, which can include things like bullying, yelling, insulting, or cursing. All of these behaviors are inappropriate and employees should not be subjected to them. Here are some strategies that you can use to protect your employees. Step number 1, conduct a hazard assessment. One of the first things you should do when addressing violence in the workplace is conduct a hazard assessment of your workplace and the tasks that employees do to get a better idea of where they may be at risk. The hazard assessment should consider items like instances where employees work alone, poor workplace design that may block employees from getting away from someone who is threatening, poorly lit areas, lack of emergency communication planning, working when understaffed, inadequate site security, long waits or overcrowding in the store during peak times, lack of a camera system or lack of signage letting members of the public know that there are cameras in use, and signage alerting customers to COVID-19 precautions. Step number 2, put precautions in place. Next, take those hazards that you've identified and put mitigations in place to protect both employees and other customers. Mitigations may include reducing customer frustration up front by providing information on store policies using the website, signage at the location, and clear communication. If you will be posting employees at the entrance to the store to monitor store occupation or enforce the use of masks, schedule employees to work in pairs. Remember, there is safety in numbers, and anybody who is going to harass an employee simply for enforcing their store's policy is less likely to do so if they're outnumbered. 2 is better than 1. When you look at the facility layout, always make sure employees have an exit route between them and a threatening customer so they're never trapped. Consider using a security service in high-risk locations. Install security systems like cameras or alarms and train employees on how to use them. Identify a safe area for employees to go if they feel in danger, like a room that locks from the inside and has a phone or an alarm. Allow employees to keep their phone on them in case they need to call for help. Provide employee training on warning signs of violence and what their response should be. Step 3, train employees to identify threatening customers. Put a system in place that identifies different threat levels and gives employees an appropriate response depending on the threat level. Here are some warning signs that employees should be aware of. There are obvious signs like speaking loudly, yelling, or swearing. But there may also be non-verbal cues like clenched fists, heavy breathing, fixed staring, or pacing, to name a few. Remember, the more of these cues shown at once, the greater the risk. Non-verbal responses from employees can include paying attention to these behaviors and being alert, maintaining eye contact in a non-threatening manner, and avoiding threatening gestures such as finger pointing or crossed arms. The next stage is when the employee has verbal interaction with somebody. It's best to use conflict resolution strategies like active listening, being professional and clearly communicating, avoiding interrupting customers, and offering to escalate the issue to the manager if necessary. Along with this guidance, employers should be instructed not to argue with customers. Engaging in a debate is unlikely to help and often can actually end in escalating the situation. Always encourage employees to practice non-violent responses, such as remaining calm, giving the person space, making sure that other people are in the area and not touching the person or attempting to forcibly remove them. If you have a case where a customer or member of the public actually needs to be forcibly removed, that's a situation where security or the police need to be involved. When to seek help. Next up, the employees need to know when to seek help. Now, this guidance will be different for pretty much every organization, but you should have a threat level that employees are aware of and know who to call when that threat level reaches a certain threshold. So for example, some threats you may need to get the manager, while others you may want to call security or the police. Make sure employees are clear on when to escalate and what's appropriate. As employers, we need to have clear lines of communications with employees so we understand what's happening in their day-to-day role. It also means we need to understand how to best respond to these situations and how to support employees if a threatening or upsetting situation does occur. Check the CDC website periodically, as this information is likely to evolve as the pandemic also evolves. I hope this video helped you to understand some strategies that you can use to protect employees who may be exposed to a threat of workplace violence. If it did, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.